Everyone is calling AI the new gold rush. If you spend 5 minutes on YouTube or TikTok right now, it feels like every other video is pitching the next big AI automation service you just have to sell. So I thought, why not just rank them once and for all? The crazy part is I get to see these automations from both sides. I run a lead gen agency for real businesses, but I also spend half my week talking to founders and agency owners inside my community. So I don't just see the polished pitch or the viral demo. I see what actually happens when someone tries to turn that shiny idea into a real offer. Some of these popular automations just aren't ready, and I've seen more than a few agencies quietly drop them after realizing they don't deliver. Personally, I've tested a ton of these services, sometimes for my own clients, sometimes for people in my community who begged for a teardown. So I've seen the wins, I have seen the fails, and I've seen the stuff that nobody wants to admit publicly. So here's how I'm doing this. I'm ranking the biggest, most talked about AI automation services. So you see what's actually worth selling, what is decent if you know what you're doing, and what you should avoid no matter how slick the demo looks. Fair warning, some people are going to love this, a few are going to be pissed, but at least you'll know which offers can really make you money and which ones you can skip. All right, quick note before we jump into the tier list. Every service gets ranked across the same 7 categories, so you see how they really stack up apples to apples. And as a bonus, I'll walk you through how each automation actually works, just enough so you get the gist and you're not lost if one catches your eye. Don't worry, I'm not about to drone on for every single one. Some of these are pretty self-explanatory and we'll keep it moving. The ones that are crazy, controversial, or actually worth your attention, you'll get the full story, maybe even a quick war story if it's deserved. Basically, you'll come out of this with a real sense of what each service does, how hard it is to sell, and where it flops or shines. If something clicks, you'll know exactly where to start, or at least what rabbit hole to dive down next. Okay, starting off with the deep personalization cold outreach system. I'll be honest, if there is one place I'm going to show my bias, it is right here, because this is the bread and butter of my agency. It is half the reason I get to make these videos and actually run a business is because of this system. So if I sound a little too enthusiastic, just know you're hearing from someone who's lived and breathed this for years now. So what does deep personalization cold outreach actually mean? And how does it work in the real world? Let's say you want to reach out to a list of potential clients. Most people still send those very sad cookie cutter emails saying something like, hey, first name, saw your company is doing great things. And then they wonder why nobody ever writes back. But with this setup, you can get way more surgical. The automation scrapes details about each prospect, what they do, what's going on with their company, maybe even some recent LinkedIn post or podcast they were on. Then AI takes all that and drafts an email that actually feels like you took more than 5 minutes to research them. Suddenly, the person on the other side isn't rolling their eyes. They're actually replying to your outreach. And I can personally tell you from actual experience that the difference is wild. Now, is it perfect? Of course, it's not. Sometimes the data is off or the AI gets just a little too creative. But that is all fixable. And compared to slugging through hundreds of generic emails by hand, this is truly a game changer in my opinion. So who should actually care about this? Honestly, if you're selling anything to other businesses, this should be the first system you set up. Agencies, SaaS founders, consultants, hell, even if you end up offering half the automations I'm about to rank, this should be running in the background. It is just that foundational. So where does it rank on the list? Well, if you just heard what I said, obviously to me, it is S tier. If you do one thing from this whole video, do this. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. This would always be my go-to if I had to start over from scratch. All right. Next, let's get a bit more spicy with this one, because if there's one automation that gets hyped to the moon and lets me play the villain, it is the all-in-one AI agent. Shutting this one down will probably upset more people than anything else in this whole video. You see this pitched everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, even LinkedIn. Just plug in an AI agent and it'll handle your bookings, reply to clients, follow up on leads, run your sales calls, make you coffee in the morning. In theory, it sounds like the holy grail. Who wouldn't want an army of bots running your business while they sleep? But here's what happens after the viral demo fades and the real clients get involved. I've watched founders burn months and budgets trying to get an all-in-one agent to handle client communications or book calls, only to realize these things have the memory of a goldfish. Lose context on one client interaction, that's a high-value deal out the window. Trust an agent to run your sales process. You're about to learn the hard way why 80% isn't good enough in 100% critical areas. And I get it. The time savings should be insane. If it worked, this would be the automation that lets you sit on a beach and actually collect passive income checks. But every single founder I know who's gone all in ended up back in the trenches, patching up the system, chasing down confused leads, and praying a client doesn't catch the agent saying something off script. Does it have future potential? Well, sure. If you got a squad of AI engineers on retainer, don't mind babysitting your own tech, and you're willing to eat some losses while the bugs get ironed out, maybe you can pull it off. But for most people, especially the people starting out, you're just signing up to be an unpaid AI support rep. So where does it land on the list? Honestly, growth potential at this moment in time is basically zero until these things get a lot smarter and way more reliable. I have friends who want to believe this is the future, but I've seen too many nightmare clients for me to keep a straight face. So as of right now, it is F tier for me. If you want a business that doesn't give you migraines, skip the all-in-one agent hype and just move on to something that actually works. All right, so after roasting the all-in-one agent and singing love songs about cold outreach, let's talk about something a little more grown-up, AI proposal generation. Now, I'll be honest, I only use a dumbed-down version of this myself. I'm not the guy sending out 30-page corporate proposals, but even my short ones are a pain in the ass sometimes. And if you're running an agency or selling anything business to business, you already know proposals eat your life. That is where this automation is quietly brilliant. You feed it your notes, the sales call recording, and in about 30 seconds, you have something polished and ready to go. Obviously, it is not magic, but it saves my brain for the real work. But here's where you need to see it through your is this a service worth selling lens? Because on paper, it sounds incredible. Who wouldn't want to churn out pro-level proposals at the click of a button? In reality, it does have lags, but only if you're pitching to the right kind of business. The best buyers are agencies, consultants, or anyone stuck in proposal hell who value speed and looking good. If you're trying to sell this to a solo freelancer with just 2 clients, you can forget about it. So as a sellable service, it's not going to change your life overnight, but you can charge a solid setup fee for the system and maybe tack on some maintenance for the AI isn't working support calls. And for bigger shops like marketing agencies, SaaS sales teams, or firms doing outbound at scale, this can be a very easy win. So is it as sexy as cold outreach? No. Is it as overhyped as all-in-one agents? Thankfully not. But if you want a service that's easy to demonstrate, quick to deliver, and legitimately useful, this one's an A tier in my book. No fireworks, but quietly makes you and your clients look good. All right, let's talk about the outbound voice agent / AI cold caller, the one that everyone on LinkedIn and TikTok gets way too excited about. I'll admit, the first time I saw a demo of these AI cold callers in action, I got a little curious, because here's what actually happens. You load up a voice agent platform with your script or prompt, you map out the conversation flow, and you point it at a list of leads. The AI dials out, tries to qualify, maybe leaves a voicemail or books a call if it gets lucky. Now, does it work? Well, sort of. For super simple transactional stuff like, hey, would you like a free roof inspection, or press 1 to claim your discount, it can work okay. But anything beyond that, anything more complex, you can forget about it. AI still can handle the nuance, objections, or randomness that comes with a real sales conversation. And if you're hoping it'll replace a human SDR, brace yourself for a lot of awkward pauses and some pretty cringy customer experience. What you don't see in those AI is the future of sales is how most business owners really feel about robots cold calling their prospects, because they usually hate it. Pushback is the norm, and every once in a while you'll get a furious reply or a call back demanding to know why some weird robot just spammed their customers. I've watched agencies get hyped, pitch these to plumbers or roofers, and get completely ghosted the moment a bot leaves a cringe voicemail. So is there money in selling this? Well, maybe in a very narrow lane. You can charge a setup fee and even a performance bonus if you somehow make it work, but you'll spend a ton of time troubleshooting, explaining, and apologizing for the tech's quirks. If you want to test your pain tolerance or have a masochistic streak, give it a shot. Otherwise, this is one of those services that to me is all hype, very little substance. So for me, it is D tier. There's better, less stressful ways to make your clients and yourself some money. All right, AI content creation. This is one of those that splits the room. Either people swear by it or claim it's all hype, depending on which side of content is king you land. Let me paint this picture. Every founder, agency, and coach wants to look bigger, sharper, and more active than they really are on social media. So the idea of letting AI handle the grunt work, churning out LinkedIn posts, newsletters, tweets, maybe SEO blogs while you're off living your life, that to me sounds like magic. And honestly, sometimes it kind of is, because I've watched brands go from invisible to owning the feed, literally. Even for myself, there have been some weeks where I let AI take the wheel and ghostwrite something, especially for those posts I just can't force myself to write. But here's the thing, AI is incredible at quantity. It will scrape ideas from competitor posts, scan your recent podcasts, or pull research about a trending topic, then start firing out drafts for you to review. You can run it through a cycle generator, hit the one-shot button, or pull inspiration from anywhere online and end up with a full content calendar. All you have to do is check the drafts, make sure they're not saying anything totally off-brand, and schedule them. It kind of feels like cheating if I say it like this, right? Now, here's the catch. From what I see on the inside, clients and founders always expect their first post to go viral. If any of them tanks, nobody blames the AI. They turn right back to the agency selling the service. So managing those expectations becomes almost half of your job. For the agencies and founders I talk to, this system is a real moneymaker, especially if you offer your service and stay hands-on. If you give clients the keys and let them run wild, get ready for some real headaches. But if you keep things tight, this is an A-tier play all day long. It scales, it sells, and it works. Just don't expect miracles and definitely don't promise them. Let's talk about website chatbot lead capture. You think by now, with all the hype, these little bots would be booking calls left and right for everyone who installs one. Every week, someone in my community DMs me asking if this is the holy grail of lead gen. I swear, if I had $1 for every just add a chatbot to your site and let the leads roll in pitch I've heard, I'd have, well, at least enough for a really fancy chatbot. But here's what actually goes down. You set it up, it starts popping up for every visitor. And if you get it right, it'll walk your prospect through a short sales process and maybe book a call. The dream is that it works while you sleep. The reality, most of the time, it works best when you're wide awake, tweaking the scripts and double checking it's not blowing up your calendar with useless appointments. I've seen this work for some agencies when the stars align and the business gets legit high intent traffic and someone's willing to actually manage the thing. But I've also seen plenty of AI-powered chatbots turn into glorified, slightly awkward gatekeepers. There's nothing like waking up to 10 new meetings and realizing 8 of them are spam. But when it lands, it lands. One of the agency owners I know built out a super specific flow for their niche and started booking real meetings, which was pretty awesome. Most people though, they copy paste some template, let it run wild, and really truly get nothing out of these services. If you're game for a project that needs ongoing love and attention and your clients really do get solid inbound traffic, this can be a fun win. But for most, it is more of a C-tier move. Decent if you get it right and have some patience, but don't buy into the overnight riches pitch. Chatbots are cool, but they're definitely not fairy dust. Okay, the recruiting application analysis. This one's kind of sneaky good. Most people don't think of hiring as the most exciting part of business, but for any company that's actually trying to scale, so recruitment agencies, corporates, fast-growing SaaS teams, saving time here can be a game changer. Instead of getting buried under a flood of random CVs and copy-paste cover letters, you let the automation do the grunt work. Candidates drop their info, the AI scores and ranks them, and suddenly you're only looking at the cream of the crop. The best candidates bubble up, the maybes go into the look later pile, and everyone else quietly disappears. If you've ever tried to fill a role and ended up sifting through 200 LinkedIn DMs, you know how much pain this could save. Now, when a business hits a hiring sprint, so think scaling startups or agencies with a sudden client win, this service absolutely flies off the shelf. I've watched agency owners in my community pitch it to recruitment firms and HR teams. And when the timing's right, it lands every time. Because you're not bringing in new leads, but you are saving your clients hours of screening, and that is real sellable value. There's a catch though. This isn't the kind of automation that keeps the monthly invoices rolling in. For most agencies, it's a build and deliver deal. You set up the system, hand it over to the client, and you're done. Sure, if a company is scaling like crazy or always hiring, think of Amazon, you might get some ongoing management or tweaks, but for most, it's just a one-off project. It's not the endless retainer goldmine you get with something like cold outreach or content automation. So for pure money-making purposes, this lands firmly in B tier. Massive time saver, serious value for the right clients, but the demand isn't always there, and when you're done, you are done. Still, every agency owner I know who's built one of these has a thank God, never have to read another generic letter moment. Sometimes that is all you need. All right, time to get back to basics, the sales pipeline and CRM automation. This is one of those automations that never goes out of style, no matter how much AI hype is flying around. If you've ever tried running a business or watched a client trying to manage sales out of Google Sheets that looks like it survived 3 wars, you know exactly why this one makes the list. Every agency, SaaS, coaching business, or even recruitment firm eventually hits a wall. Leads start falling through the cracks, follow-ups get missed, and suddenly the pipeline you thought was worth 6 figures just quietly disappears. This is when everyone suddenly remembers, all right, we should probably get serious about our CRM. So with CRM automation, you're building out a tailored system. Think industry-specific templates, automated stage flows, smart triggers, dashboards that actually tell you something useful. For a lot of businesses, this is the difference between organized chaos and scaling with your insanity intact. And for a service provider perspective, this is beautiful. Clients see the value. It is easy to show progress, and you can layer on recurring management to keep that monthly invoice flowing. I've seen agency owners inside my community land chunky setup fees building these out, and in some cases keep clients for years just because nobody else wants to rebuild their entire sales system from scratch. The best part, this works for pretty much any business that needs to manage leads, track deals, or run ops beyond sticky notes and memory. It is not sexy like cold outreach or as controversial as an all-in-one agent, but it never stops being relevant. Is there a downside? Well, sure. Sometimes clients expect you to solve all their sales problems overnight, or they ask for every shiny integration under the sun. But compared to the other automations we've covered, this one is actually easy to sell, delivers clear value, and rarely blows up in your face. If I had to bet on a long-term winner, CRM automation is it. It is the bread and butter of every agency's recurring revenue. So to me, this is a clear A tier. Traditional, universal, and about as close to a safe bet as you'll find in this game. Let's talk about the client onboarding automation. The reality is nobody gets into this game dreaming about building onboarding flows. It's not the sexy side of automation, and it definitely won't be the thing that blows up your DMs with inbound leads. But if you're selling AI automations as a package, think agencies offering everything from lead gen to CRM builds, this is a fantastic side quest. It is the kind of thing that doesn't get clients drooling, but solves a pain they only notice once it burns them. And when it burns, it really burns. I can't tell you how many agency owners in my network only cared about onboarding after losing deals or having clients disappear halfway through a project. So what is the play here? Obviously, you don't lead with this. You don't build your whole agency around this. But when a client says, hey, our new clients keep getting lost in the shuffle, that is when you pitch onboarding automations as a plug and play fix. Build it once, hand it off, maybe check in every few months for tweaks. And then if you're smart, you'll package it into your broader offer and use it to close bigger deals by making yourself look like the agency that actually cares about the client's experience, not just the one-time sale. So for me, this one is B tier for sure. It won't turn you into an overnight success story, but is a proven upsell, a way to get your foot in the door, or just an easy way to add value if you're already running the bigger, flashier automations. All right, let's wrap with customer support ticketing automation, the one that every business owner secretly wishes would just work, and the one that sounds so much better on paper than in practice. Here's the fantasy. You set up an AI triage agent, sorts through refund requests, feature asks, random complaints, and it does it all while you sleep. No more endless inbox pings, no more burnt out support reps. It kind of sounds like the dream, right? Now, let's step into the real world. What happens for most agencies actually selling this? Well, first of all, big companies already have something in place. Try pitching this to a SaaS that's been around longer than 6 months, and they'll easily tell you, yeah, we use Zendesk for this, thanks. For everyone else, the founders, service providers, scrappy e-com brands, the promise is huge, but you end up fielding more "wait, why did your AI refund this customer" messages than you'd like to admit. Same goes for the tech. Honestly, it's solid if you spend the time integrating with every support tool and knowledge base, and if your client is okay with getting things a little weird before the system learns. But if you set it and forget it or sell it as a magic bullet, you're signing up for a lot of headaches. When it comes to the money angle, well, this can be a big chunky setup fee if you do it right, and a nice management retainer if your client actually lets you maintain it. But if you're selling to smaller businesses, prepare for a ton of hand-holding. So where does this land? To me, it's C tier without a question. Universally relatable, yes. Can be a lifesaver, yes. But it's only really worth it if your client is big enough, patient enough, and ready to do some cleanup when things go sideways. Great to say it's something you offer, not always great to actually support. So let's zoom out and actually look at what this tier list tells us. The big takeaway: all the AI automation hype in the world doesn't change one simple fact. Some of these will make you money, some will just eat your time, and a few will actually make your life a lot harder. At the very top, no contest, is deep personalization cold outreach. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're serious about building a real agency or just want a system that pays for itself, this is where you start. It is the backbone of every successful business-to-business play I know, and nothing else on this list even come close for pure predictable ROI. Then you've got the A tier, proposal generation, content automation, CRM builds. This is what I would say is your money stack. These automations don't just sound good on a sales call. They're the reasons clients stick around, they get results and send referrals. These are the offers that keep showing up in agency wins, and for good reason. They solve the problems people actually have. Move down to B tier, and now you're looking at the more strategic plays: recruiting automation, onboarding flows. These aren't the headline grabbers, but they're the reason clients trust you with the big stuff. Most people don't realize it, but these are the services that keep you in the room when the next project comes up. They won't make you rich overnight, but they will help you build your relationships and upsell when the timing is right. Then there is C tier, chatbots and support automations. These are the classic, looks good in a demo, feels a little clunky in real life systems. When they work, they can be and they are great. Most of the time though, you'll spend more hours managing expectations and cleaning up after the tech than actually scaling anything meaningful. Not useless, just not the golden ticket they're made out to be if you look online. And finally, let's be honest, the bottom of this list is littered with stuff that's all flash, no follow through. Outbound voice agents, all-in-one AI agents. These are the offers that look amazing on Twitter, but somehow never seem to stick once that first real client comes in. I've seen more agency owners burn out on these shiny object automations than I can actually count. So what does it actually mean for you? If you're trying to make a living or scale your agency, focus on the top half of this board. Ignore the hype, solve real-world problems, and stack the boring but profitable automations that never go out of style. The money truly isn't in the newest viral screenshot. It is in what you can actually deliver month after month that doesn't blow up in your face. And if you've been watching this thinking, all right, but how do I actually build that outreach system for myself or for clients? That is literally what I teach and break down inside my school community. We go way past the YouTube service level, dive into real workflows, share templates, troubleshoot when things break. Basically, all the stuff that makes these automations actually work in the wild. The link is in the description. Either way, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.